This episode of 6'5 Guys is brought to you by Benchmark Barrels, world-class accuracy. Defiance Machine, defying tradition with innovation. JC Steel Targets, the industry leader in quality AR-500 steel targets.
In the month of October, we were invited by the board of directors of Home with Heroes to an event held near Klickitat, Washington.
Klickitat Salutes. If you really want to restore your faith in this country and small town America, you come to an event like this where the town of Klickitat literally rolled out the red carpet for veterans.
Absolutely. Now, this event was the first event of this sort, even though they've been holding Klickitat Salutes for a number of years, specifically focused on introducing vets to the sport of long-range precision rifle. And we were reached out specifically to come out as guests to do that.
Yes, they had exhausted all possibilities and settled on the 6'5 guys. And here we are. I'm explaining to them what the magneto speed is and how important it is to understand your velocity. I think we probably ended up selling a few magneto speeds there once people realized how critical that was to getting on target. You really need to know your velocity.
Yeah, and here I am. Once we actually measured the velocity of the bullets, I'm explaining what goes into a ballistics app and the calculations and how that factors into calculating your drops that you would dial on the scope.
And I really liked your authoritative gestures there, Steve. That was very convincing.
Yes, hand gestures explain drop. Now, part of this was also introducing them to the Kestrel and what goes into some of the inputs in order to come up with that ballistic solution. And of course, we didn't want to get them too bored into the science behind this, so we quickly moved towards getting them behind guns. And part of that is just introducing to what the targets are.
Yeah, and again, we showed them if you've got your velocity, they were shooting commercial ammo. And we show them how you can get right on target right away. And so there was a 100-yard sight in, and we had targets from 200 to 500. And there's another 300. Yeah. And
300.
Way out there, 700 yards, spent a lot of time on that. And then finally 1,000 yards. The objective was to get everybody onto that 1,000-yard target.
That's right. Now, for some of the folks that, although they'd been shooting, may have been new to just some of the basics and fundamentals of precision rifle, we first got them into a prone position behind a 224 Valkyrie, engaging the target at about 350 yards. So here we're just teaching them form, follow through the fundamentals, and getting them confident behind the rifle that they can actually shoot. Now, the limiting factor on this was that scope.
Yeah, and that 224 Valkyrie, I tell you, that's quite a cartridge. I mean, when we were out in New Mexico, had no problem engaging targets at 600 here. I think we stretched it out to about 700. To your point, the scope was the limiting factor. But if you're looking for a cartridge for AR platform, that 224 Valkyrie is hard to beat.
Oh, yeah, just a ton of fun. And they had another AR-15 platform that they were using. You can see that tank trap, which we'll talk about in a moment. But everyone got a chance to rotate through, connect with the target. We got a chance to provide them a little bit of coaching and how they might improve on kind of what they're doing.
And again, everybody got on target. They were quite satisfied with that. And this property, again, I think, about 3,200 acres?
That's right. Yep.
And this was just one small part of it. And we certainly hope to come back and explore some of the other shooting areas on that property.
Now, part of this was getting them, besides prone, into other positions that they would typically encounter in field shooting. One that many of us are familiar with is, off the prop or off the tank trap. And here, what I encourage them to do is just get very comfortable. And depending on the size of the person, they either decided to sit or kneel. And, once I got him comfortable behind the rifle, let him rip on that target. Here, and you can see this guy's actually sitting on one of the bags to get up a little bit higher.
Yeah, and he's also learning to shoot left-handed due to an injury. He could no longer shoot right-handed. So, good thing I brought my left-handed bolt action as well in 308. And, a lot of these folks, maybe they hadn't shot for a while, or even some of the folks who regularly hunted, out past 200-300 yards, that's a lot of folks see that as a long distance shot, and to get folks on target at the various distances
and hitting consistently. Yeah, you can see the big smile on their face.
Well, yeah, and I think it really opened their eyes to really what you can do in this sport, what you can do with a good rifle.
Now, one of the other guns available, we'll just call it the house gun, that was made available, and I believe they had a ton of ammo for it, was in a 6.5 Creedmoor. It's actually a rifle that would Remington 700 been accurized, had a Helix 6-barrel chambered 6.5 Creedmoor, and actually the rifle manufacturer, or the barrel manufacturer, Helix 6, was there as a sponsor of this event.
Yeah, and they put that in an MDT, Modular Driven Technologies chassis. And by the way, those good folks participated in our giveaway, our SHOT Show 2018 giveaway. So just terrific folks there at MDT.
And they're shooting with a Burris scope, 5 to 25. By 50, it's first focal plane. And because at this particular rifle, most of the people were engaging these longer targets, typically the 700-yard target or the 1,000-yard target.
And we brought plenty of bags. I was amazed that I had accumulated 2 tubs full of bags, and they all went to good use.
Probably 20 of them to choose from. Like, pick the one that you like, that makes you feel comfortable.
And the color scheme too. And there folks are just reaching out.
So, a lot of other guests were there, spouses, kids, and anybody who wanted to get behind it had a chance to connect with the target.
Yeah, and again, we showed them the benefit, particularly of having a rear bag to get that elevation. That was new to a lot of folks. Bit of an eye opener for them. There I am to the left, coaching the individual, getting them on target. And again, even with that cooler weather, you got a good amount of mirage. You could definitely see it.
Yeah, and some wind too. The wind switched up throughout the day. It wasn't super windy, but you had light breezes, and it would gust up once in a while. And as different people would get behind the rifle, you would notice that whatever they had dialed, the person may have to redial to the come up for the target they were engaging. And this gentleman here, we discovered after a while we couldn't get him close to the target. You realize something, Ed?
Well, no, I was watching the trace, and the trace was just going up and disappearing. And after that happened 2 or 3 times, I just went on a hunch, and I was like, hey, I think you might be 1 rev off. And so he went down 1 rev, and sure enough, he was getting right there on target.
Yeah.
And it illustrates to me, again, I mean, I like to back out on my scope power a bit where you can see that trace, and that's really important. And again, everybody saw even how a mild wind out at 700 or 1,000 yards can completely blow you off target.
But at these distances, particularly that 1,000-yard target, the fundamentals really do matter. Folks are missing even just because of rifle cants. So
that actually happened a lot.
Constantly asking them, watch that bubble level, or are you level with the gun? And as soon as they level it out, they'd connect right with the target.
Cant matters.
And here he hits the 1,000, and of course everyone applauses. And that was the point of this. We wanted people to hit 1,000 yards.
And that evening, people were proudly, down in the town of Klickitat, I can't tell you how many people were proudly wearing that badge. I mean, I'm
1,000-yard club badge.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure they're telling all their friends. And, boy, excellent drone footage provided by, what was the name of that company again?
Well, John Tarter was the videographer who kindly donated his footage to help us produce this video. But as the afternoon wore on, of course, we only had, I believe, 3 house guns, so we got a chance to send some rounds downrange and have a little fun too. But quickly got guys behind our rifles as well to let them try it out, get more people shooting the targets. Yeah,
and I brought a 308. You had your 6x47, so folks could actually see the ballistic advantage of different cartridges. But again, showed folks that with even a 308, shooting 168 grain match kings, because again, I didn't have time to reload, so shot some commercial ammo that you had laying around, and you can hit it at 1,000 yards. I'm not saying it's easy as with a 6.5 Creedmoor, but you can do it.
Well, it was tough even on that 1,000-yard target because it didn't really provide a resonating sound when you hit it. You really had to see it in the scope.
But they had 2 of the industry's best spotters in the form of the 6.5 guys to tell them whether they were on target.
Now, one of the things as we were wrapping up the day, we decided to have a little bit of fun and have a friendly competition. It was just a stage that we made up to engage a few different targets, a couple short, one long, using that prop barricade.
Yeah, and it was a 2-minute timer, but even if folks went over time, we let them finish. And
yeah.
They had a really good time. Maybe some of them got the bug, and you'll see them out at a match here soon.
And of course, we had a chance to participate in this fun as well. And I think that's probably the only match stage I've shot in months.
But Steve, you haven't lost a beat.
There you go. There I am.
You look great. But I've noticed that my clothes are shrinking. Certainly, they're defective.
You need to talk to your laundry about that.
I know. I'm going to have to talk to the wife. Stop shrinking my clothes.
So that's Tom Horn. He's one of the leaders on board, Home with Heroes. And of course, as we're wrapping up, we're getting ready to kind of pack up, say our goodbyes before we head back into town. But what a great group of guys.
And Home with Heroes, it's a 501c3. I couldn't think of anybody more worthy of your charitable donation.
And there's our group. Hopefully we make it back again.
Remember, folks, life's an adventure.
Stay on target.